Greetings, Cleveland. This is TV20's Spotlight, the show that illuminates some of Cleveland's own. I'm your host, Cornell Calhoun III, and today we beam our spotlight on lupus survivor and founder of Stepping with a Vision, Miss Katrina Cook. Katrina, welcome to Spotlight.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So let's just get right into it. What is lupus?
Lupus is an autoimmune disease. It's also known as SLE, which is systemic enuresis lupus, which it involves all the organs, as far as the skin, the heart, the lungs, the kidneys. It can just affect the whole immune system.
And what are some of the symptoms of lupus?
Well, I could talk for myself how it started out. It was mostly joint pain, inflammation, a lot of swelling, unexplained fevers that I had, and I also get the butterfly rash certain times of the year, especially in the summertime.
So currently there's no cure for lupus, is that correct?
Absolutely not. There's no cure for lupus.
And is the disease hereditary?
For me, it is. I found out as time went on through my family asking questions once I was diagnosed, because I had read up and did some research. And one thing it says for lupus, it can be environmental. It can be also due to inflammation in the body due to the cells not being able to shed itself, or it can be genetic. And for me, after looking around and asking my family, I found out it was genetic for me.
You know, I did some research. I had never heard of lupus until about 15 years ago when I was asked to actually write a play about lupus, and I did a little research. And they say that there's about 1.5 million people with the disease. Is that accurate to you? Or
Yes, it is, and the majority is women, African American women or minority women. I might want to correct myself with that.
And they say from the ages 15 to like 44, childbearing years. Is that also correct?
Yes, that's when it started to show up mainly with most individuals, especially women.
And so you're a native Clevelander, right?
Yes, I am.
And I think graduate of East Tech High School?
Yes, I am.
East Tech, the Mighty Scareds.
Yes, the Mighty Scareds.
So in terms of younger people, do younger people get the disease too or no?
Yes, I think actually what happens is because years ago, the disease was so not known of, it was overlooked. Like for myself, as I look at my childhood with my mother, we remember things that was going on that was relating up to immune disease. And it was just overlooked because the testing and a lot of people or doctors today still don't understand it.
Okay, so let's start from the beginning. Just tell us about your journey with lupus.
Before I even knew I had lupus, as a child, I would lose my hair. I would have fevers. And I can remember my grandmother giving me oatmeal baths to take away the fever. And I would get sick all the time. But when my mom would take me to, the hospital no longer exists anymore. But my mom would take me to Mount Sinai Medical Center every Thursday to the dermatology clinic. I remember it so clearly. And they would take samples of my hair and put it in a jar like a test lab rat.
Wow.
And I remember one doctor, my mother told the doctor, my daughter is always complaining about being in pain. He said this long word, I don't remember it because I was a little girl. And so I said, what does that mean? And the doctor said, you just one big pain. And to think about it now, if a child is talking to adults and telling you they hurt all the time, and that's your response, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. So leading up to that, as a teen, I was ill off and on. They could never find out what was wrong. It led up into my 20s. I didn't get diagnosed with lupus until my 30s.
So when you were first diagnosed with lupus, did you get a clear understanding of what the disease was, what you would have to face going forward? I mean, was that explained to you?
Oh, yes, the physician, I don't know if I'm allowed to say names, but she's a wonderful
Mm-hmm.
physician here in Cleveland, Ohio. Her name is Dr. Sharika Davis.
Mm-hmm.
And she's at the, I'm not going to say her location, but that's the physician who diagnosed me. Once I was diagnosed, she called me, and because I explained to her after seeing doctors for years, I finally found her. And when I did, I explained to her, I just went in her office and we talked, and she said, explain to me what you're going through. And I told her the joint pain when I would wake up in the morning, I couldn't walk. I was just so confused. Why did I always feel like I had like pneumonia or the flu? What is really going on with me? So at that time, she said, you know what? Let's stop right here. I know what I need to do. She took several tests. She explained to me what they were. And one of them was for inflammation that diagnosed lupus. And it's not a direct lupus indicator, like saying, okay, but it shows the inflammation markers for a person who may have lupus. So when she did that, the test came back in about a week. And she called me and said, yeah, you have lupus. We'll talk about it. I'll bring you back in, but you need to start the medication today. So she put me on a medication called hydrochloroquine, also known as Plaquenil. And I had to take that for 6 months in order for the medication to get in my system to work.
So, what are some of the like resources that someone with lupus can try to obtain?
Well, today there's still not a whole lot of resources, but I like to mention there are like the Alliance Research Lupus Organization, and there also is the Greater Foundation, Lupus Foundation of America, that does research. Those two programs have now since started giving 500 financial grants to certain lupus candidates that may qualify under their criteria. But there's still not many programs out there that say, you with lupus, you lost your job or you're out of work, we're going to definitely help you for the next 6 months till we can figure out what's going on with you. You know, like, not to really, I'm going to just say what I need to say. There's a lot of programs for cancer survivors, a whole lot. There's no programs really out there to say, hey, the lupus patient, the lupus warrior, we're out here to help you. You have to go through so many hoops to just get a little bit of help. When I was first diagnosed in 2011, I had to stop working in 2012 due to a procedure. The lupus had attacked me during surgery. During the course of that, I was off work 3.5 years. I went through so much trauma and drama just to get financial help for me and my children at the time. And there was no Pacific program. But one day I had the option to call 211 for help because I was so confused about where to turn to. I needed financial help. And they were like, when I went to like Children Family Services, they were giving me problems because I hadn't been on there. So they was giving me so many problems and looking at my background, history, education, work history, and really giving me a lot of problems with assistance. Like, why are you not working? Because lupus is not understood. And that was back in 2011. So when I explained to them, and they was giving me a hard time, I kept research. So I did 211 for help. It was a small organization called Lifeless Lupus. It's one, I don't know if she still exists, but she has a very small organization. And I met up with her. I had to shake her. I explained her to my situation, and she was like kind of hesitant to help me because people play on people, and I understood that. So she donated me $200 to pay my light bill. I'll never forget it. So it's emotional because it was a dark side. Excuse me. And at that time, I was so grateful for her because I could not get help. So when I was able, after 3.5 years of being out of work, because of the ailment. And finally, the funding I've worked for so many years, long-term disability finally kicked in. And I got back on my feet. It took me 3.5 years. I was able to get back out there and start working. And when I was able to get back out there and start working, I contacted that lady back from Lifeless Lupus. And I asked her, can you please meet me? And she said, who are you? I said, my name is Katrina Cook. You donated to me.
Take your time.
At a very crucial time. And I appreciate it. And I would like to pay it forward, the money you gave me. She said, no one's never did that. I say, well, you don't even know what you've done. You haven't inspired me so much. And she met with me, and I paid the money back.
Wow.
At that time, I felt strong enough, and I said, I got to fight back. It's time to fight back. Lupus will not take over my life, and I will be able to give back someday like she did for me. So if she's out there, I just want her to know thank you. And it was called Lifeless Lupus.
Lifeless Lupus.
Yes.
Katrina, this may be a tough question, but how does lupus affect someone's mental health?
Oh, lupus can be very depressing because it robs you of so much. You used to getting up every day and just going about your day. But when you have to get up in the morning and you got to think about, how am I really going to get up? Or you just say, do I give up and lay here, or do I get out that bed and keep moving, no matter how I feel? So you have to determine, and you have to have the willpower to continue to fight. And a lot of people doesn't understand that, because you can look at me today and someone will say, oh, you don't look sick. Lupus is invisible. It's very invisible. It's a silent killer. There's no cure, and nobody hears us. And a lot of people with lupus is afraid to come forward and express, because mainly a lot of people think they're faking. It's funny. I said to my daughter yesterday, I said, sometimes I just keep it in, because even to me it doesn't feel real to be feeling all this. And she said, your response is like trauma. I said, I know. I know it is, because people judge you without even knowing what you go through daily. So a person who deals with lupus and does not have a true support system, I pray for them. I pray for them because it's very lonely.
So how many kids do you have?
I have 2 sons.
Okay, so then obviously a woman living with lupus can safely bear children.
Yes. Yes, they can. And
is there any danger of the children contracting lupus, or no?
Possibly it can be genetic. You can pass it on, for one thing. That's the whole thing. Some women, if they're carrying it when they are in that crucial time during lupus, they may lose their life, they can lose the child, they can have more underlying issues, because the lupus can attack them or the child even during childbirth.
What is the toughest thing about living with lupus, would you say, for you?
The toughest thing about living with lupus for me is accepting the fact that something has control over me. And when I say that, I'll say, like today, I was ready for today. I was prepared. I got up at 7:30 this morning to get ready for today. And everything went wrong. I couldn't put my makeup on today because my skin just would not allow, it would just clam me due to the fever I had this morning. I couldn't walk up the street because my legs are swelling. I felt really sick, but I knew I had a mission today, and I was determined to make sure that I took it all the way through.
You know, what's interesting is you said that it's an invisible disease, and you're living proof because you look fine to me. You look good. So, I mean, you know, it's a credit that you putting up such a fight for this disease. You know, I'm impressed.
Thank you.
On the 21st of May, you sponsored a lupus walk.
Yes.
Talk about that, because TV20 actually covered it. Talk a little bit about that.
Thank you for covering it. It was nice to have that outlet. On May 21st of 2023 of this year, it was Stepping with a Vision, also known as SWAV, third annual lupus walk. And with that walk, I usually hold it on the northeast side of Cleveland, over at the Rockefeller Lagoon Park, because I feel like that's a area, high traffic area. People will see us, and hopefully, because we're in a neighborhood, people will join us. And the reason why I hold a walk, because it's a way to give out information, it's a way to advocate to the community, it's a way to get awareness out. So every May, because May is Lupus Awareness Month, I decide that I will host the walk in May. And we get an okay turnout, but I'm pretty sure as time go on, the community will learn more about lupus, and they'll come out and support and help bring awareness about living with lupus.
So how many years have you done the walk?
This will be our third due to the COVID.
Due to COVID, okay. We have a clip of the lupus walk that was sponsored by Stepping with a Vision. Let's take a look.
Myself and other lupus warriors really need the community help. So to me, the only way we can do it is by bringing awareness. This is our third annual lupus walk, Stepping with a Vision lupus walk. And the reason why I hold it right here in the urban community is because I'm trying to bring awareness in our community to let everybody know that lupus is real. And the worst part about it, there's no cure for it.
Education is crucial for dispelling misconceptions surrounding lupus.
Just expect good energy. You're going to get educated about living with lupus. You're going to hear stories from real lupus warriors that live day to day with the illness. And you're basically going to be able to just come in with community, and it's nothing like community.
Increased awareness can lead to earlier diagnosis, improved understanding, and more support for individuals living with lupus.
It took me until I was 34 years old to get diagnosed with lupus. I've been suffering since I was a little girl. And my mother always got false diagnosis, but I finally got a diagnosis when I was 34. So it's 13 years later, and I stand before you saying it's very important to bring this message to the community, to bring awareness about living with lupus.
Katrina, let's talk a little bit more about your organization, Stepping with a Vision. How did all that come about? Is that one of your, your urges to fight the disease? Is
Yes.
that where that came from?
Yes, it did. Well, like I was saying, once I was sponsored, just the donation funds that I received from the other organization, I felt like I needed to help. I needed to make a way to bring awareness. And it started out just talking about it, because people that was close to me, positive and negative, found out that I was ill. And they didn't understand what it was. So It was a lot of whispers.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't take the whispers in a negative light. I took the whisper as they were confused. They didn't have education on it. So at first, when social media started, that was my outlet, and it was healing for me, because during the journey, it was also confusing. I'm like, I don't do nothing too bad. Why I'm sick, all these people out here? And I was confused, and I did question my higher being, because I couldn't understand why me. And then I talked, and my response, the reply I got back, well, why not you? Maybe I chose you for a reason. And that's when one day I was laying in the bed, not feeling well, and I say, wow, Stepping with a Vision, Stepping with a Vision. Now where I get that from? And I said, that's what I'm about to do. And the reason, the logo, my youngest son designed it for me.
Mm.
And I told him I wanted something to represent community. So it's two people walking together, a man and a woman, holding hands, bringing forces, and they're fighting and walking together, bringing a vision. And that's where Stepping with a Vision came from, to fight, make an organization where I can develop an outreach program. That's our goal, is to bring an outreach program that will aid in funding, not just a $500 voucher here and there, but I want to help. If you 6 months out of work, I want to be able to help you. I want to design a program, because a lot of problems is fatigue with lupus. We're not able to get up, so you can't clean your house like you want to. I want to design a sister-brother program where I can come in and send people in. Maybe you just need somebody to come in and keep your house together, or a couple of meals for the week. And I want to be able to design this program that will help in so many ways that I know a lupus patient like myself may need.
So if someone wanted to reach you at Stepping with a Vision, how would they do that? Because you have a website, right?
Yes, I do.
And what is the website? We can put it on the air.
Yes, www.swabblupus.org. I'm also on Facebook with Stepping with a Vision. I have an online support group. It's called Spoon Therapy. And why I call it Spoon Therapy? Because in the lupus world, when I can't do it for myself, my fellow lupus warrior hand me a spoon. And that's from a long time ago. The spoon is handed off to the next warrior who cannot help theirself. So on Facebook, you can find me at Stepping with a Vision, Lupus, Stepping with a Vision, Spoon Therapy, or Katrina's Vision. Also on Instagram, you can find me at Stepping with a Vision, all one word.
And what's the website again, so everybody can have it?
www.swab, S-W-A-V, lupus, Lupus.org.
So what would you tell someone who was recently diagnosed with lupus?
I for sure would tell them, you're not alone, for one. Find your support group. Tell your family, share with them what you're going through. Even the naysayers, let them know what you're going through. Find you a physician you trust. Keep a journal of what you go through. Even if your journal is pictures in your phone, if you're swelling, take pictures, take it to your doctor. Find you a good primary and a good rheumatologist.
We just recently finished shooting a film about lupus. Earlier in the show, I talked about having written a play about 15 years ago, Blues for an Early Autumn. And then recently, I was in touch with a dear friend of mine, Dr. Yvonne Simmons, whose daughter, Chelsea, that I've kind of adopted, has been suffering with lupus. And so she and her mother inspired me then to rewrite the play as a film. And hopefully we'll have a world premiere around September in the fall. And I certainly want you to be a part of that. And the film basically is just getting the word out about lupus, its conditions, how it affects people in an entertaining way. So we'll talk more about that.
Thank you.
Because I want you to be a part of it.
Thank you.
So I want to thank you for being on the show today. It was a very powerful portrayal of someone living with lupus. And I think anyone who has it should gain some insight and strength from what you've brought to us today. Thank you a lot, Katrina. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. I'd like to thank my special guest, Katrina Cook, for hanging out with us today on Spotlight. I'm Cornell Hubie Callum III for TV 20. Until we gather again, Cleveland, be well, be safe.